At 2:17 a.m., the universe blinked. At least that's how it felt to Daniel Harper as the coffee machine hissed in the empty hospital lobby and a nurse slid a paper cup toward him without a word. The floor reflected the ceiling lights in long, quiet lines, and Daniel stared at his hands as if they belonged to someone else. He had been awake for 26 hours, waiting for a test result that no one would explain in plain language, only in percentages and pauses. Daniel was not a scientist by training. He taught high school literature in a small Massachusetts town, the kind with brick sidewalks and a single diner that knew everyone's order. But tonight, with the vending machines humming like distant insects and the smell of antiseptic in the air, his mind reached for anything steady. He opened his phone and tapped on a saved video he had never finished. How Quantum Physics Explains the Nature of Reality, Sleep-Inducing Science. The narrator's voice was calm, almost kind. It spoke of particles that existed as possibilities, of waves that collapsed into certainty only when observed. Daniel leaned back, the chair squeaking softly, and let the words wash over him. Somewhere upstairs, his younger sister Maya slept under a thin blanket, unaware that her future felt suspended, like a coin spinning in the air. Daniel remembered the day Maya called him, laughing and crying at the same time, telling him she'd been accepted into a graduate program in Vancouver. She'd always wanted to go. Canada had felt like a promise to her, wide and gentle. Now, in the hospital's half-light, Daniel wondered how a life could feel so solid one moment and so uncertain the next. The video spoke of entanglement. Two particles, separated by vast distances, somehow linked, change one, and the other responds instantly. Daniel closed his eyes. He thought of Maya teaching him to ride a bike when they were kids, her hand steady on the seat, her voice saying, "I've got you." He thought of how, even now, he felt every shallow rise and fall of her breath as if it were his own. A janitor passed by, pushing a cart that squeaked in protest. He nodded at Daniel, a small gesture, but it landed gently. Kindness, Daniel realized, often arrived quietly, without ceremony. The narrator continued, explaining how reality wasn't fixed until we engaged with it. Observation mattered, presence mattered. Daniel's phone buzzed with a text from a colleague in London, an old friend from a summer teaching exchange years ago. "Thinking of you," it read, no context needed. Daniel smiled despite himself. It felt like proof of the video's point. Distance didn't always mean disconnection. When the nurse finally called his name, Daniel stood too quickly, dizzy for a second, as if the world needed a moment to reassemble around him. The hallway to the consultation room seemed longer than before. Inside, the doctor spoke carefully, compassion threaded through every sentence. There were treatments. There was time, not certainty, but space for hope to breathe. Daniel nodded, asked questions, listened. As he left the room, he felt the strange mix of relief and responsibility that came with knowing you weren't done yet. In the quiet corridor, he pressed his back against the wall and exhaled, the video still murmuring softly from his phone. He returned to Maya's room just before dawn. The sky outside the window was shifting from ink to gray, the city holding its breath. Maya stirred when he sat beside her. "Hey," she whispered, her voice thin but steady. "Hey," Daniel said, taking her hand. He didn't tell her everything, not yet. He just stayed, matching his breathing to hers, feeling the simple miracle of being there. As the sun edged higher, the narrator spoke about superposition, how something could be many things at once. Daniel watched the light touch Maya's face, and he understood that she was still many things. A sister, a dreamer, a stubborn optimist, a woman standing at the edge of something unknown. Later that morning, Daniel stepped outside to get fresh air. The hospital courtyard was nearly empty, except for an elderly man feeding birds with careful patience. Daniel sat on a bench, letting the cool breeze wake him. The man smiled, offering a piece of bread without a word. Daniel accepted it, tossing crumbs toward the birds and watching them scatter and return, fearless and free. The video ended, the narrator's voice fading into silence. Daniel didn't restart it. He didn't need to. The ideas lingered, not as equations but as feelings. That connection could stretch across space, that attention could shape outcomes, that kindness, small, unremarkable kindness, had weight. When Daniel went back inside, Maya was awake, scrolling through photos on her phone. She looked up and grinned. "Guess what?" she said. I was dreaming about Vancouver. It was raining, but in a good way. Daniel laughed softly. He pulled up a chair and sat with her as the day began, the world settling into a new configuration, still uncertain, still fragile, but undeniably real.